Greetings to all. Portion for today's reading is from Genesis 19 to 21. In Genesis 19 describes the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah due to their great wickedness. Two angels visit Lot in Sodom, and he shows them hospitality, but the men of the city surround the house with evil intentions. The angels strike the men with blindness and urge Lot to flee with his family. As they escape, God destroys the city with fire and brimstone, but Lot's wife looks back and becomes a pillar of salt. Lot and his daughters take refuge in a cave, and in fear of losing their lineage, the daughters act sinfully, resulting in the birth of Moab and Ammon. This chapter reveals both God's judgment and his mercy in rescuing Lot. It also shows the moral corruption of the society. Spiritually, this chapter shows that sin, when it reaches fullness, invites divine judgment. God's mercy is evident in rescuing the righteous, even from a corrupt environment. Lot's wife represents a divided heart, physically leaving sin but emotionally attached to it. The blindness of the men symbolizes spiritual blindness caused by sin. The actions of Lot's daughter reflect how living in a sinful surrounding can distort moral judgment. God calls his people to separation and holiness. Today, this reminds us that society can normalize sin, but God's standards do not change. We are called to live righteously, even when surrounded by corruption. Looking back like Lot's wife represents longing for past sinful comforts. God provides escape, but obedience must be complete. Compromise can affect future generations. God's judgment is real, but so is his saving grace. Am I holding on to something God has asked me to leave behind? Does my environment influence my spiritual decision negatively? In Genesis 20, Abraham travels to Gerar and again introduces Sarah as his sister. King Abimelech takes Sarah, but God intervenes in a dream, warning him of the truth. Abimelech, acting in integrity, returns Sarah and confronts Abraham. Abraham explains his fear and lack of trust. God protects Sarah and prevents Abimelech from sinning. After Abraham prays, God heals Abimelech's household. This chapter highlights human weakness and divine protection. This shows that even faithful people can fall into fear and repeat mistakes. God remains faithful even when his people fail. Abimelech's integrity contrasts Abraham's fear. God's protection covers his promise despite human flaws. Prayer becomes a channel of restoration. God works through imperfect people. We may repeat past mistakes due to fear, but God offers grace. Integrity matters even among those who do not fully know God. God's promises are not cancelled by our failures. Fear can lead to poor decisions. Prayer has the power to restore others. Trusting God fully is essential. Am I allowing fear to control my decisions? Do I trust God even when circumstances seem uncertain? In Genesis 21, it records the fulfillment of God's promises with the birth of Isaac to Abraham and Sarah. Sarah rejoices, seeing God's faithfulness in her old age. Conflict arises between Isaac and Ishmael, leading to Hagar and Ishmael being sent away. Though difficult, God cares for them in the wilderness and provides for them. God reaffirms his covenant through Isaac. Later, Abraham makes a treaty with Abimelech at Beersheba. This chapter emphasizes promise, separation, and provision. God's promises are fulfilled even in his timings. Joy comes when God's words is realized. Separation is sometimes necessary to protect God's plan. God does not abandon anyone. He hears the cry of the broken. Isaac represents promise. Ishmael represents human effort. God remains compassionate to all. We must try God's timing even when delay seems long. God's blessings bring joy and responsibility. Sometimes we must let go of certain relationships or situations. God sees and provides even in difficult season. Human effort cannot replace God's promises. God's faithfulness never fails. Points to ponder. Am I waiting patiently for God's promises? What do I need to release to align with God's plan? May God bless us all. Amen.